If you're buying a home in Spokane, Washington, then this video is for you. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to relocate to Spokane, this guide will be everything that you need to know. We're going to go over a brief overview of Spokane, how to interpret the market, the pre-approval process, every step that it takes to buy a home, and some pitfalls that other buyers have fallen into and hopefully you can avoid in the future. If you're new around here, my name's Haydn, Halsted, your local real estate resource here in Spokane, helping people buy, sell, and invest real estate every single day. And we'd love to help you do that as well. If you find this video valuable, make sure to like and subscribe as we put out videos every single week. And if you are making the move and you need some assistance, you can use the link down below in the description to schedule a meeting on my calendar at a time that's convenient for you. Let's get right into this video. So if you're just stumbling across Spokane as a potential place to move, I know a lot of people are just spending time researching other cities that maybe they've never heard of or been to that might be a good option, that's more affordable, has more interesting weather, more mountains, things like that. I've had conversations about all of these things with potential clients that are moving to the area. And for one reason or another, Spokane is kind of a haven for whatever situation they're in. So Spokane is in the inland Northwest. There's a difference between the inland Northwest and the Pacific Northwest because we are inland from Seattle. We're about 4.5 hours away from the West Coast where Seattle is at. And we are really kind of a center hub for the inland Northwest. We're the largest city within 6+ hours besides Seattle. Boise to the south is a little bit bigger than us. And then Portland's about a 7-8-ish hour drive. We experience all 4 seasons here. We have pretty hot summers, upwards of 100 degrees for at least a couple weeks out of the summer. And we have cold winters averaging in the mid to upper 20s, but there will be days where we are 10 degrees below zero. Spokane's slogan is near nature, near perfect. So I've talked to many people from like the Midwest that are looking for somewhere that is closer to the mountains, but maybe not as expensive as a place like Missoula or Bozeman or Park City, Utah, things like that, where of course the mountains are a little bit more present in those towns, but Spokane has great accessibility to multiple ski resorts within an 1.5-hour drive in either direction. We have Mount Spokane in our backyard, 45-minute drive, and there's tons of hiking options, 76 lakes within an hour drive. And so really we are an awesome place for outdoor enthusiasts. Now we're not as hip and bustling as any other major big city, but we do have a lot of things to offer here. I think we have a high quality food scene with some really awesome options throughout town. We have our own symphony, Broadway shows come through here. There's a large local theater community. The music community is doing well. Music and art festivals are thriving, especially in this time of year. Filming this in May, this is when Art Fest is happening at the MAC and many other festivals are starting to pop up throughout the summer. So honestly, it's kind of a slower pace of life around here. Nothing is too crazy most of the time, but we have a lot of the things that most people are looking for in a good town. In terms of education and healthcare, we have good schools here in Spokane. Some of them make the highest rated list in all of Washington, but of course there are dozens and dozens of schools in every district, and there are going to be good schools and bad schools in every district. We have multiple university options, and so if you're a teacher looking to transfer to the area, we have multiple options for public and private universities, and then we also have a huge nursing program because of our vibrant healthcare systems. Spokane has a massive healthcare system for the size of city that it is, with 5 major hospitals throughout the city, which then leads there to being a lot of nursing programs. And so Washington State University and University of Washington both have satellite campuses here for those programs. And now just to put it out there, our biggest con in Spokane is our crime right now. We have a very high level of property crime in Spokane. You have a 1 in 16 chance of being victim to like a car break-in. And so that's the biggest issue here. Very consolidated to our downtown core, but it is a big issue in the Spokane area. So now let's talk about the real estate market. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the specific real estate market at the time that I'm filming this video because you might be watching this tomorrow or in 6 months from now, and it won't really matter if you're watching it in the future. But every month we do upload a complete market update, and so if you want to stay up to date on the numbers here in Spokane, Washington, and what the real estate market is doing, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we release a new video. So today we're going to focus specifically on some real estate jargon, some specific terms that you should know and ask your realtor about when you start looking for a home here in Spokane. So the first thing you want to talk about is what are the comparable sales of a home that you are interested in purchasing. So there are going to be other similar or somewhat similar homes in a neighborhood that have sold. If you are looking at a home in an older neighborhood like Manitou or Audubon, the homes are so variable and so different throughout those neighborhoods that comping homes can be a little bit more difficult. We don't really use things like price per square foot, at least I don't, because it's not really an accurate measure because the houses are very unique there. If you're in a neighborhood that was built all at the same time in 2010, let's say. Every house has similar finishes. They have similar floor plans throughout. You could actually find homes that have the exact same floor plan. Then price per square foot can make sense. But you want to look at what has sold in the last 6 months that's similar to the house that I'm interested in. And then you also want to look at context. What was happening in the market at that time? Because that can have a drastic influence on the price that a house gets. If interest rates were at a peak high while that house sold, well, then it's likely that the price was going to be less than what it maybe could have gotten if interest rates had softened a little bit and were not 7.5, they were 6.9. You also need to look at the time of year. Spokane is a highly seasonal real estate market. It's very cyclical and we have big up and downs every year. Some houses selling for 20 to 30% more in the summertime than they would in the wintertime. And so if you're buying in the summer and you're looking at a comp that sold in January, you got to realize that just because that one sold for 20% less than what they're asking for today doesn't mean that that one is necessarily overpriced for the market today. Then also in terms of comparables, you want to see what other active homes are on the market that are currently competing against the one that you're interested in. You want to see what are they asking for the house, what features do they have, and compare those things to see, again, are you overpaying for the house that you're specifically looking in, or is there another option that might have a few more features that's just down the road a little bit? So now the next thing you need to do is look at the month's supply of inventory. Another word for this is the absorption rate. This basically tells you, is it a buyer's market, a seller's market, or a balanced market? And so in order to do this, you need to take the area that you're looking in, you take the number of active homes on the market for the last month and divide it by the number of homes that sold in the last month, and that will give you your month's supply of inventory. If that number is less than 3, then you're likely in a seller's market. It's pretty common that you're going to run into multiple offer situations. So right now in Spokane, we're at about 2.6 months of inventory. And so there are some homes that are sitting on the market for quite some time, but then there are also a lot of homes that are getting competitive, selling for over the asking price with multiple offers on them. If that number is between a 4 to 6, you get a balanced market. So maybe every once in a while you'll see multiple offers, but pretty unlikely. But homes are going to still move relatively quickly. The average home is going to sell within 60 to 90 days. And then if the number is higher than a 6, it's in a buyer's market, and buyers basically they can be picky, choosy, they can get whatever they want. You can negotiate super hard with the seller because you're going to have many other options available to you, and sellers are going to be sitting on the market for multiple months, hoping to just get a showing on the property. And so this is something that we haven't seen in Spokane in quite some time. Since about 2014 was the last time we kind of saw numbers in this range, and we're still pretty far from hitting a market like that. The next thing you want to look at is average days on market. So if the average days on market in the neighborhood you're looking in is 40 days, and the house you're interested in has been on the market for 75 days, well then I'm for sure not going to be paying the asking price on that property. I'm going to be submitting a competitive offer that's much below the asking price, maybe asking for some things because there's obviously something wrong with that property, whether it be the price or it just didn't show well. The seller was being difficult with potential buyers, anything like that, or maybe it's just not being marketed well. But I am going to use that as my advantage to make a strong offer on that property. To make an offer below the asking price, that's much more in my favor. Next, you want to look at the list price versus sales price ratio. This, just like the month supply of inventory, is going to tell you what you should expect when offering on a home. And so if the list to sales price ratio is 103%, it means the average seller is getting 3% above their asking price when they're selling their home. But if it's 97, they're getting 3% below their asking price. So I want to know this number because I want to walk into that neighborhood and kind of gauge, okay, what am I going to be realistically offering this seller based on the average house in this neighborhood? And then just things to look at if you're buying in 2 years from now, things like that, is just looking at, okay, what's the population growth of the area that I'm interested in? Are people still moving to this neighborhood? Are people still moving to Spokane as a whole? Where are interest rates heading? Are they going to head up or down from now? Because that's going to have a huge factor on pricing. And then less so is the unemployment rate. It's just like another tool to look at. But if Spokane had a really high unemployment rate, then obviously there's going to be less buyers. But Spokane has a large mix of people moving into the area and people that lived here and purchased homes. So that's less of a factor because that unemployment rate isn't a holistic number of all people that are buying a home currently in Spokane. All right, let's touch on the steps to buying a home. So my first step is getting a pre-approval letter and looking at my budget. So you want to go talk to a lender or 3 as soon as possible. This is a no obligation meeting. They would love to just give you the information, but I wouldn't reach out to an online lender or just some ad that you saw on Facebook because they'll just they'll give you whatever you want to hear and then bring you in and then change that number later on. They really won't run your credit or anything like that, and you want that credit pull. A lot of people I meet with are afraid of getting the credit pull, but I can promise you it might ding your credit 5 points or less, and you'll get that recovered within 30 days. It's not going to make or break your approval. If it does make or break your approval, it might not be the right time to buy a home. You should probably work on a few things first so it doesn't affect you that dramatically. But you want to get a good idea of how much the house is going to cost in your monthly budget. And so you can go to my website. There's a mortgage calculator on there. You just want to make sure you're typing in the right numbers. So you want to look at, okay, I think I'm going to be at $350,000. You want to look at today's interest rate. So just Google, what is today's mortgage rate? Find that number, plug it in there. You want to estimate your insurance for that. And so you could put in there about $1,000 and that will be about average. Some homes can be significantly more, some can be less, but 1,000 is a good middle number to start at. And then you want to look at the property taxes. So you can go to Scout, it's the Spokane County GIS, and you can look at the address that you're interested in or house you're interested in, type it in and find the property taxes. But you can also estimate that about 0.9% of the market price. So if it's 350,000, take 90% of that number and then times that by 1.1%, and that'll get you right around to where your tax amount is going to be for that house. Then put in there how much down payment you think you're going to have for the house. I mean, down payment can be flexible, but again, it just affects your monthly payment. So if you have 10 grand saved up, put 10 grand in there, and then that will pop out the monthly payment for you on a $350,000 house, 10% down with today's interest rates and estimated taxes and insurance. From there, you can make a decision if it's even really worth reaching out to a lender. If it's a number that you thought was way bigger than you were expecting, then maybe it's time to go back to the drawing board and figure out a new plan. Or you can just mess with the numbers and see if you need to save up any more down payment, anything like that. So next up is choosing the right real estate agent. Now, choosing the right lender and the right realtor, I mean, one can happen before the other. It doesn't make a huge difference. I think connecting with the realtor first allows you to get their vetted and trusted lenders. And so if you know a good realtor that you want to reach out to them, ask them, hey, do you know any good local lenders that I could reach out to? And then you can start the pre-approval process. Again, never wasting my time at least, but you shouldn't be wasting any other realtor's time by asking that question. But if you are hiring a real estate agent, I would recommend interviewing a few because we are not all made the same. We all have different processes. We all have different skill levels. We all have different personalities, and you're going to have to like the person that you are working with. So there's a blog at the National Association of Realtors called Questions to Ask When Choosing a Realtor. And there's a list of 10 questions that are really good to ask the realtors that you're interviewing. I think number one is, how long have you been doing this? And even more importantly, is this your full-time job? Because if they are working somewhere else and putting food on the table with another job, then they are not going to be the best realtor for you. You need somebody that is fully vested in this business, because that's the only way that they're going to be fully invested in you and getting you the home that you're looking for. So then once you're working with a realtor, you're working with a lender, then it's time to start exploring houses. And now at this time, you should start just kind of exploring neighborhoods, driving around areas, figuring out where you want. Because I know that my most successful clients are very pinpointed on the neighborhoods that they would like to be in. If they're super wide open to all of Spokane County or anything like that, then it's kind of hard to focus in on anything. It feels like there's too many options at that point. So you really have to find out, which location do I want to be in? That is like the number one most important thing. So your realtor will work with you on this and help you kind of identify locations that will work for you based on what you're looking for. But then it is going to be up to you to really go be in those neighborhoods, get some coffee in those neighborhoods, walk around those neighborhoods, and get that fuzzy feeling a little bit about the location. So I always tell my clients that a specific house is not going to be the reason that you move into a certain area. It is going to be the area first, the neighbors, the drive to work, things like that are the most appealing. And then we will find the perfect house within that perfect neighborhood. So you can really start to just explore. Like I said, drive around, go attend a few open houses. Just make sure that you sign in and tell them who your realtor is when you're there, and start just getting to explore a few homes on your own time that You can start to make a list of your wants and needs, things you don't like. You don't want to be on a corner lot. You don't want to have, you do or don't want to have an alley, things like that sometimes you don't think about until you've been in a few houses. Once you've kind of figured that out, then you're going to really sit down with your realtor again about what your specific wants and needs are, and they're going to really be able to go to work for you. Because once you have a really specific list of what you're looking for, that's when targeted marketing can be put out there. Because not only are we going to look at homes that are on the MLS, on Zillow, but now your realtor can go to work for you by sending postcards to specific houses that meet your criteria. They can reach out to their database of other realtors in the area and ask if they have other listings coming up and try to find some other off-market opportunities. But the only way that works is if your criteria is absolutely specific, or else the message just doesn't land with anybody. So the next step is using your agent to make an offer on the said house that you purchased using the information that we talked about in the market evaluation section. What price should we offer? What term should we offer? Using the market data in order to draw that information. And then also having conversations with the listing agent, the seller, trying to figure out what they need. Because not only do you want to look at it for yourself, but the best way to get a seller to accept your offer is by maybe being able to have the closing date that they need, or let them rent back the house for a little bit, things like that. So maybe it's not a dollar amount, but it's flexibility with them getting out of the house, because it's a big deal trying to move everything out of your house. Then you're going to go through the inspection and appraisal process. You're going to make sure you hire a licensed inspector. You can have anybody come through the house at that point, but in order to really negotiate, you're going to want a licensed inspector to go through the property and look at everything throughout the house. And then here in Spokane, you 100% need to have a sewer scope done, which is sending a camera down the sewer line to check if there's any damage or what type of material it's made out of, because we have lots of different materials our sewer lines are made out of. Some have been in the ground for 120 years, some are brand new, and even the brand new ones can have problems. So you need to have it scoped no matter how old the house is that you're purchasing. And then secondly, we have high levels of radon in the ground here in Spokane. It's a gas that comes out of the ground. And so you need to get a radon test done, identify if you have high levels of radon, and then if you need to install a radon mitigation machine, because that's something that can be negotiated as well. Then we just go through the closing process. You're working with your lender on final underwriting. They're going to ask you for multiple docs multiple times, and it's just part of the process. They're going to do their best to make it as easy as possible. Then the next step is starting to transfer utilities, make plans for your movers, which we have a great list of people and contractors and all those things. If you want to, you can go to haydenhalsted.com/contractors list, and you'll be able to find our list of recommended professionals, from movers to plumbers and everything in between. And then here in Washington, we don't actually get the keys at the closing table like in many other states. Most of the time here, you're going to go to the closing table a day or two before closing. You're going to sign all your documents, and then there's actually just a waiting period until the courthouse can record the closing. And then we get a phone call that says, hey, congratulations, you've closed on your house. You can now go meet for the keys. And so generally your realtor will just meet you at the house and get the keys out of the lockbox and hand them to you there. So there's a few things I've seen buyers make mistakes on or just not understand fully that I just want to touch on before we end this video. So the first one is HOA. So if you're buying a home in an HOA, you want to fully understand the rules and regulations of that HOA. And we don't want to just take the information that the listing agent gives us. We want to make sure we go to the HOA and get the most up-to-date rules and regulations, because they do change. And so you really want to know, like, if you're a car person, HOA is probably not for you, because you are only going to be able to work on your car inside of your garage, not in your driveway, things like that. If you want to have a boat, there are some HOAs that don't even allow you to park your boat in your backyard, things, or behind a fence. So you want to know those things. HOAs can be really good for holding up the value of a neighborhood, but if you're somebody that likes being outside your home, having equipment or vehicles, anything like that, you got to avoid HOAs at all costs, because it's going to hurt you down the road. Next up is first-time home buyer programs. So there's a lot of first-time home buyer programs, or people that want to ask me about them, and you just want to be cautious because they sound good, but there is also just a caveat to them. Even though they're giving you your down payment, they're not giving it to you, they're loaning it to you. Now it's a 0% interest loan. You don't owe anything on it. You just owe the amount that they give you when you sell your house. But you're going into your home with 0% equity. You own nothing of your home. All of it is owned by the bank and the state of Washington or wherever you got your grant from. So you just have to know that there's a little bit of a gamble there. Like if the market were to go down after you purchase your home, you're locked into that house for quite a while until the prices come back up, unless you want to bring money to the table. You have the risk of being underwater on your house and not just being able to freely sell it. Now, there are banks and credit unions out there that have grants, which are truly free money. And so if you are interested in that, make sure to reach out to me and I'd love to connect you with my lender that has true grant funds, because that is actually going to be beneficial for you. Next up is I have a lot of people that want to just buy a fixer-upper. They're fine with buying something that they're going to put some sweat equity into. And that is great if you are handy and you are ready for the time commitment that is going to be. It is going to become your personality and your lifestyle. It takes a lot of work to renovate a home, especially if you're living in it. And so you just have to be mentally prepared and financially prepared, because it's going to take a lot of money out of your pocket. The difference between buying a fixer-upper and buying a nice home that's more expensive is that the fixer-upper, there's going to be a lot of variable costs and cash that continually comes out of your pocket in order to do that. With buying a brand new home that maybe has a higher payment, you know that you're not going to spend any money on fixing up the house, that you just have a fixed payment every single month. And if you want to try and lower that payment, you can just work hard, save up some money, and put some more money towards the principal to lower your payment over time. So just understand what your goals are, what you want your lifestyle to look like, because building equity through a sweat equity renovation can be amazing, but you just have to know how much time and of your life it's going to take in order to make it happen. And then lastly, neighbors are more important than the house you are purchasing. You need to make sure that you are trying to talk to the neighbors. If you're going to submit an offer on a house, by all means, go knock on the neighbors' houses, ask them about the neighborhood. Do they like living there? What are the problems in the neighborhood? And make sure that neighbors on either side of you are quality neighbors. Make sure they're nice people to talk to, or that their yards are upkept, things like that, because you cannot control what happens right on the outside of the walls that you own. You can only control what happens in your house, but they can leak into your house pretty dang easily. So make sure that you are talking to the neighbors, drive through the neighborhood at morning, afternoon, and night, see what's going on, and really get a good feel for the location. So we talked about the process to buying a home, things to ask your realtor, when to talk to a lender, how to purchase a home, and gave you a little bit of jargon to bring to your realtor when you start talking to them about the housing market. So if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you would like that realtor to be me, I would love to help you out. So make sure to reach out, call, text, email anytime, or you can use the link down below in the description to schedule a meeting on my calendar at a time that's convenient for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.